It is my great, great privilege. I just wish my father was alive to see this. It is my great, great privilege to introduce one of the most dynamic, charismatic people in this country today, who has an incredible ability to generate excitement and hope. And I hope he carries that beyond this state. Governor, the Council for Unity greets you, and you have given us a moment that we will never forget. Governor Cuomo.
Thank you very much. I did not come to make a speech to you. The last thing in the world I would try to do is to tell you anything at all about the things that you represent. You've heard it before this evening. Let me repeat it to you as a person who is privileged to serve as the Chief Executive Officer of the state of 18 million people. I wish that we could have all the legislature, all the people in my government, and all the rest of the people in leadership position in the state of New York come and witness what we're seeing here tonight. The council has instruction for all of us. You are, as far as I can tell, one of the most extraordinary examples of how to manage diversity, how to deal with our extraordinary strength. I came down here to tell you how grateful we are, to tell you that you are an inspiration to all of us, and to tell you that I'm going to work as hard as I can to take back the message of the council to the rest of the state. I want to pay special respect to the honorees, some of whom I know quite well. Charlie Hughes is not with you. He's one of our great leaders, and I offer my congratulations to him, Sandy Feldman, for all the wonderful, wonderful work she has done. Bill Fugazzi, an old friend who is going to be leading us for a long time to come, particularly in the Italian-American community, but his reach goes far beyond that. And one of the best con men I've ever met, Frank Lacuna. This guy, I mean, really, you want to talk about a setup. I was sitting here, I was wondering why they invited me to come tonight, you know? All right, I'm the governor, but so what? You have all sorts of celebrities here. You've got a great, great Italian-American who happens to be now interested in politics, who's a wonderful prosecutor, who has an extraordinary career ahead of him, Rudy Giuliani. You have all of these stunningly handsome and glib, terrific people come to this mic one after the other. Bob DeSena, who gives a speech like a Shakespearean actor. You had a guy come up here. I'll tell you the truth. There was a fellow who came to this mic. If I were as tall as he is, if I were as good looking as he is, I'd run for higher office. Barry Moody. He was sensational. Chiappetta, yeah, Nick Chiappetta, what else do you need? The guy looks terrific in a tuxedo. You know, I don't wear a tuxedo. I do not wear a tuxedo. I may never wear one again. I wore one to a wedding that my son had. No, this is true. My son had a wedding a couple of weeks, I guess it was a week or so ago now. He married a young lady, a beautiful lady by the name of Kerry Kennedy. She happens to be a part of the Kennedy family. Well, I have to tell you, I wore a tuxedo because they made me do it. In the first 20 minutes, I got 4 tips. I don't wear, but you had Chiappetta come up here. Chippetta's so handsome and very smart, too, isn't he? Nick, yes. But you know what happened? I got tips, too. and smart too, but not as smart as Nicole. She kept the buck. I love that move. I just love the move. What do they need Cuomo for? I mean, why am I here? I've been here, incidentally, many, many times in my career in public service. And then he got up here. Frank got up and he made clear why I was here. It's called a contract. Do you know what a contract is? When you get a politician in front of you and you say, okay, you do something for me, I'll do something for you. They put me at the table and he said, we're going to be to visit you. We're going to come to visit you in the state to see if you can help us build our building. Well, I tell you, you've embarrassed me. You really have embarrassed me. You've taken advantage of me. But when you come to Albany, I'll be there to hear your request. And we'll do everything we can. But there is beyond that, there is nothing I can tell you about unity. There's nothing I can tell you about division. There's nothing I can say to you about racism that hasn't already been said powerfully and eloquently and very, very movingly by the people who came here before. I will tell you this, for those of you who are not quite as old as some of us, I've been here more than half 100 years in Brooklyn, in Queens. My whole life has been in Brooklyn and Queens. I was born in Queens. I live about a mile from where I was born now, in a house with my mother, who we're still lucky enough to have with us. Matilda, my wife, we're married 36 years. She's from Brooklyn. She's from Avenue K. I went to school in Brooklyn. I practiced law in Brooklyn. I've been all over Brooklyn, all over Queens, and they were great places to be born and to be raised. And I'll probably die there. There was something about Brooklyn and Queens in the beginning when I was just a young fellow that's still true. There were always a lot of different kinds of people in Brooklyn and Queens. We had, where I was born, an Italian-American grocery store, and we had all kinds of customers. We had a whole lot of black people. It was South Jamaica in Queens, and a lot of the community was black. I would guess it was 20 or 30%. In my church, St. Monica Church, there were a whole lot of Polish people, a whole lot of Irish people, a whole lot of Greek people. There were a lot of Italian Americans, most of us first generation. A lot of people like my mother and father who came from the other side did not speak the language when they came here. My mother and father were never educated a day in Italy. They were poor people there and they were poor people here. They never had a Sandy Feldman. They never had the advantage of a great education like you kids here. And that's the kind of community we were. And I'll be candid with you, there were problems. There was stupidity even then. There were people who would make fun of you. I remember all the ugly words. I remember words like guinea, dago, wop. I never forgot them. I remember people being called horrible things. I remember people feeling that if you were different, we had to worry about you. And if somebody came from another neighborhood into our neighborhood and we didn't know who they were, they came in a group, you know, there were all kinds of negative responses. And we lived through it. We lived through it in Brooklyn. We lived through it in Queens. Something we lacked, however. We had to make a whole lot of mistakes on the way to maturity and on the way to common sense. You know, we didn't have a council like the one you have. And we didn't have young people like the young people in this room. We didn't have people to instruct us. We didn't have people to teach us. Nobody ever came to Public School 50 or to Junior High School 142, Shimer Junior High School where I was. No Barry Moody ever came. No Bob DeSena ever came. No Nick Chiappetta. No kids like the brilliant kids who were up here to tell us the simple truths that, hey, look, we've got a lot of difference in this society. And unless you learn to look past the difference at the things that we have in common, we're not going to make it. That unless you learn what we heard here in that beautiful little poem, you know, said to us so simply, that we're all human, aren't we? We're all from one God, aren't we? We all really are brothers and sisters. Hey, look, in every house I've ever been in, I had 5 kids. Every one of them's different one way or another from the other. In my own house, we were all different. You know, you're all different sizes, different shapes, but so is the whole population. Maybe different colors, maybe different slants to the eyes, maybe different accents. But the things that we have in common are the things that really count. Nobody ever instructed us on that. We had to learn it for ourselves. But you people have been instructed, and you people instruct, you people teach. And I'll tell you, it's a wonderful thing. I had an extraordinary experience yesterday, and I'm having another one tonight. Yesterday I was with Mr. Mandela. I think probably I'll never forget it in my whole life, because I never saw anything like the ticker tape parade that occurred yesterday. 1 million people cheering. 1 million people. And they were all saying the same thing. They were all saying, Mandela's a great man and his wife is a great woman. And he spent 27 years in a prison. And he's a powerful individual. And he's an heroic individual. He's a courageous man who would not let them squash his instinct for freedom and for fairness. And that's beautiful. So we cheered Mr. Mandela and we cheered Mrs. Mandela. But they were cheering a lot more than that. And you had to see this parade. You had to see all those black faces. You had to see all those white people, all those young people, all those old people. You had to see cops. There were cops with their fist in the air for Mandela. There were construction workers with hard hats. Never saw anything like it, because it was a work day. There were people who were working, who put down their tools. There was a guy who blew a kiss to the whole car, Mr. Mandela or Mrs. Mandela. They were cheering something else. It wasn't just the Mandelas. What they were cheering was all these basic ideas that the Mandelas stood for. Fairness, freedom, equality, justice. The whole... And that is what you are all about. Let me just give you a final thought on this. And I must tell you, I go away from this place tonight. I'm going back to Albany tonight. I have to write a speech for tomorrow morning. I have to go to the United Nations, where the whole world is going to be assembled through their representatives to listen to Mr. Mandela speak. The whole world. You know, and they're interested in Mr. Mandela, and they're interested in South Africa, but they're interested in a lot of other subjects. They're interested in what you're interested in. And on the way back tonight, I'm going to be thinking about the lesson you teach us tonight. I'm going to try to convert it into words for the United Nations tomorrow. And you know what the lesson is that you teach us, especially the kids? Here it is. And I see it in other contexts all the time as I travel around the state and around this country. We are a great, great nation, the greatest. There has never been a place like the United States of America. Never. And as you grow older and you read books, you'll see that, because you'll compare us to the rest of the world. Now, we're very, very young. We're only 200 years old, and we live in a world where other nations and other civilizations are hundreds, even thousands of years older than we are. And in 200 years, we have become more powerful than any of them, stronger than any of them. We have given 10 generations of people like my mother and father opportunity which they couldn't have gotten anywhere else. That's the story of this place. Whether you're Italian or Greek or black, whatever you are, we have given opportunity to people unheard of in this world. In only 200 years, we have more money, more political influence. Our economy is stronger than anybody, right? But we're still imperfect. There are still people who are poor. There are still people who go without basic necessities. There are still old people who don't have everything they need. And we're still hurting one another for all of our power and all of our influence, for all of the gifts that God gave us. We still hurt one another. We still are stupid enough to be frightened by difference, to take a person's color and a person's accent and a person's language and hold it against them, to beat somebody up because she's lesbian, to hurt somebody because he's gay, to attack somebody because he's black, to hit somebody because she's an Italian. There are still some of us stupid enough to be like that. So we have a way to go. And here's the lesson. In 200 years, you became the greatest nation in the world, still being imperfect. Imagine what we could do. Imagine all the good we could do in this country, all the people we could help, all the people we could teach, all the people we could uplift. Imagine what you could do in this world if you took all of your strength and maximized it, if you realized all of your potential. If you stopped all of the stupidity, if you put down all of the bias and replaced it with love, if you took all of that hate and made it a positive feeling, if you got all the people who have been left out and got them engaged as productive citizens, that's what you young people are. You're the hope of the future. In 200 years, we've become the greatest nation in the world. In 1 or 2 more generations with young people like you, we can set records for progress that this world never dreamt of. All thanks to you young people. I'll tell you. That's the final lesson that the council has learned and that the council is teaching. This country, for 100 years, didn't use its women fully. Did you know that? You know that the women weren't even allowed to vote for a long time. For 100 years, for 100 years, we didn't use the African Americans, the blacks. As a matter of fact, we put them down. We oppressed them. We never gave them a chance for 100 years. We're just beginning to give them a chance to function. And for 200 years, we never used our children properly. We never gave the young people the respect they were entitled to. We never opened ourselves to the young people. We looked down on them. We forgot how smart the young people are and how much the young people can teach us. And that's what the council has learned. The council learned that by giving the young people, like the people in this room, a chance to participate, a chance to be involved, a chance to remind us of basic truths that sometimes we got too old and too tired to remember as clearly as we should. We use all our children properly, as is happening in this room tonight. We are going to make a progress, I repeat, that this world never even dreamt of. So I thank you for allowing me to come. I thank you for giving me the high privilege of reciting the oath for you. I congratulate all the award winners. I say to the Council on Unity, God bless you.